Hello everyone, que voila, it's your boy El Cid, and I want to do kind of a different video rather than gameplay. I want to give a review on Resident Evil 3, the remake. I know it's like a week late or so, but I also wanted to talk about the future of the Resident Evil series with some of the rumors that have been coming out. But, before that, Resident Evil 3. So, Resident Evil 2, the remake, came out last year, and that was probably my favorite game from that year. I absolutely loved that game. So I had a lot of expectations going into 3, and I'm coming from this from a perspective of I haven't played the original games. If I get the chance to, I definitely want to, but I was judging it based on, the merits of the remake alone rather than how it compares to the original game. So, Resident Evil 3, it doesn't change a lot in terms of gameplay because it's following the Resident Evil engine, so it's a lot of the same movements, the same actions as Resident Evil 2, which I don't think is a bad thing. The gameplay in 2 was amazing. I really enjoyed it, so I'm glad that they retained it from 3. Of course, there's a few little things like Jill does her roll, like the perfect dodge, which I think is really cool, and Carlos has like his punch. But yeah, for gameplay, nothing is too much different because it is following the Resident Evil engine, which I think, well, the RE engine, which I think is a great game engine. And they updated, a bit of the UI, the user interface, so, you can just pick up items, and, if you have them stored, you can, stack them automatically instead of having to open up the menu each time you find some ammo and put it down. But, as for the gameplay, nothing much changed a lot, but they did improve a few things. As for the world, I love that we get to see more of Raccoon City. It's a bit more open in a sense, but it is also kind of linear at times, so maybe that ruins the feeling of openness for some. But I definitely felt like I was seeing, the whole city through its, through this pandemic. And not like Resident Evil 2 where for the you're stuck in the police station and then you get out, but you gotta go down into the sewers and get to Nest and all that. And so, the zombies in this game, they're pretty much the same. They don't fall apart as much anymore because, well, I guess, since the game is more open environments, there's going to be a lot more zombies and probably, would be really rough on the engine to have the the realistic limbs falling off. Some of the other monsters in the game, I've seen they returned from the original, and I think they did a great job just conveying like the horror of these things. I mean the hunters, the gamma hunters you find in the sewers, and the hunter betas that track you down in the hospital. I was absolutely scared with those. And of course there's Nemesis, which I think in some ways is definitely an improvement over Mr. X. Maybe he doesn't appear as much as Mr. X did, where he was always a constant threat, but I think Nemesis more than makes up for it, with a variety of moves, running around, jumping, grabbing you with tentacles, using weapons. Definitely a bit more creative than Mr. X just walking up and punching you. I did really enjoy Nemesis. I do feel he could have been utilized more. As for the story, I absolutely loved it. I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm sure if you're watching this, you already know the story, or if you don't, I don't want to spoil it for you. But, I absolutely loved Jill's character. I loved Carlos's character. The other characters in the game are really good, but I really enjoyed the interactions between Jill and Carlos. I think, it was really fun. I really enjoyed the connection the two of them had throughout the story. The few flaws of the game, I already talked a little bit about some, but it is a little linear, which I find, and also they removed the sub-weapon system, which, it's cool that the knife is now again, an unbreakable item, because I imagine that annoyed a lot of old-time players in Resident Evil 2 that the knife would break, but it is annoying that when you get attacked by a zombie, all you can really do is just, mash the button mash to get less damage rather than, being able to stab it or shove a grenade in its mouth. And one thing a lot of people didn't like was the length of the game. It was kind of short. I finished it in around 6 hours, and it's not so bad if you think at first, but in Resident Evil 2, the campaign I think took a bit longer, and there was 2 campaigns with Leon and Claire, and then you had the B scenarios, and then you had Ghost Survivors and other modes, and Resident Evil 3 didn't really expand as much on this, so I think the game is definitely lacking on that front. They could have added more in it. I know they have Resident Evil Resistance, which I haven't played yet, but I'm excited to try that out. But overall, I really like the game. I still prefer Resident Evil 2 over this one. But I still think it's a really fun game, really succeeded on the survival horror front along with the action elements. But anyways, coming off this game, there has been rumors about another Resident Evil remake in the works, specifically Resident Evil 4, and honestly, I don't want to see a remake of that game. Maybe a graphical remaster, that could be cool, but I feel that Resident Evil 4 is when the series became, I guess, more modern, because a lot of the gameplay in this, over the shoulder with over the shoulder gunplay and walking in the remakes, I think originated in Resident Evil 4. And Resident Evil 4 is already available on so many consoles that I think it would be kind of useless to remake it. If anything, I'd like to see a remake of Code Veronica, because that game seems to be less known and is considered important in the Resident Evil lore. Not that Resident Evil 4 isn't, but everybody knows Resident Evil 4. That's like a almost universal game. But honestly, whatever Capcom's gonna do, if they do a remake, I probably will check it out. But I do feel like they should maybe focus on some of their other IPs, or even work on a new Resident Evil 8. I mean, I think the direction that Resident Evil 7 took was really cool, and I think it'd be cool to expand on that lore, because it was kind of a soft reboot of the series. Even though it's not really a reboot at all, it's in the same universe, it just focuses on one guy, but I think it would be cool to see them, make a new Resident Evil rather than just remakes, or focus on another IP, but definitely excited either way to see the future of the Resident Evil series, because it's really seemed to have come back since, the mediocre rut that people considered with 5 and 6. It seemed to come back from that, so either way, I'm excited to see what the series has in store in the future. Anyways, that's my thoughts on Resident Evil 3 and the future of the Resident Evil series. Sorry if my voice maybe sounds a little weird. Been feeling a little congested. It's don't worry, it's not coronavirus. No, but no, I just felt a little congested, but we're good here. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, leave a thumbs up. And make sure to subscribe to the channel, put on notifications. I'm El Cid, or Sid, just Sid. I don't know. I might change the channel name sometime. I'm still working on that, but you'll know when that happens. But anyways, this is El Cid, and see you in the next video.